I'm very happy about this next particular session that's coming up because here we are in the middle of a pandemic and we're trying to figure out how to make money and how to survive and thrive in this economy and these changes that we're going through. And so I think that today's panelists are going to be phenomenal for talking to us and helping us all to grow through this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce them one by one and they're going to join us on stage. So do me a favor, get your emoticons ready because we're going to virtually clap them in the chat there on your right. So first, we have John Tavares. He's the founder of Pro Housekeepers, an on-demand housekeeping company servicing thousands of customers in over 21 cities. In addition to Pro Housekeepers, John is also the co-founder of Masterminds Tampa, which is a private community of entrepreneurs that help each other grow by sharing resources. He's also a member of the board for the United Nations Association of Tampa Bay, where he manages communications and helps disadvantaged youth and refugees get ahead in the city. Let's give a virtual welcome to John. Let's see those hand claps in the chat there. All right, you guys are on it. Next, we're going to bring up Letitia Johnson. She is the founder and chief strategist for Visionary Rising Agency. She focuses on expanding the digital impact of brands, creators, and creative-focused companies. With a professional career, she's been able to have experience working with Apple, Microsoft, Nielsen Media, and more. The corporate world has definitely taken notice of all that she has to bring. In 2020, we found that, she didn't stop, but nonetheless, she's also a product of Founder Gem and Y Combinator. So we can also give her that kudos as well. So let's give some round of applause for Letitia joining us today. And next we have Shuchi Vyas. She is the CEO and founder of Guestbox, a tool that helps unique boutique hotels, upscale Airbnbs, and vacation rental hosts boost their guests' loyalty. She has a physical product box with luxury essentials and high-end extras. She also helps, and which one of the things I particularly loved when listening to her before, is that she helps female and minority-run businesses in the U.S. to promote their brands through her guest box. So let's hear it up for Shuchi. Yes, get the virtual claps going, everybody. And finally, our moderator for today, we have Georgie Franks Bell. She's a sales and leader coach and executive of 20 years. She has experience in territory sales, cold calls, knocking on doors, everything in between. She's worked for Samsung, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Barbizon Modeling, and Victoria's Secret, and much more. So let's bring it up, give it up for Georgie, who'll be moderating us for us today. So one more housekeeping thing to come up. So as our guests are talking today, we are very excited and we know you're going to have questions for them. They're going to focus specifically on giving you this great content. But what you can do for us is put your questions in the Q&A field. And once we've gone through all of our pre-written questions, Georgie will turn to the Q&A section and answer your questions there. So please be sure to post your questions at that point. Okay, take it away, Georgie.
Thank you. Let's give an applause to Ebony Vaz, our PR marketing track captain. Thank you so much for bringing us all here together. So let's start with everyone telling us about your businesses, the services, the type of customers you had before COVID, and then updates to the services and customers after COVID. So we're going to dive right in. Let's start with you, John.
Yeah, so before COVID, Pro Housekeeping private residences and vacation rental companies. And post-COVID, now we're helping hospitality companies, property management companies, healthcare facilities, and educational institutions. So it's changed quite a bit. And I'm excited for the future because I know that we're helping people stay safe.
Okay, and you help with mostly like commercial cleaning, correct?
Yeah, well, we do both. We do residential and commercial.
Okay.
But recently we focused on commercial due to COVID. All these big institutions with a lot of employees or a lot of people that come in and out, they require disinfection on like a daily basis. So that's currently what we're really pushing forward.
Okay, thank you, John. How about you, Letitia?
So I own a creative agency, and we focus on cultural marketing driven by creators and creative focused companies. Prior to COVID, we were focused primarily on music, musicians, and live events. Post COVID, we have pivoted and are focused on creative focused companies as a whole, including lifestyle and media, and also able to deliver cultural insights and cultural initiatives for our brand partners.
Great. I can't wait to hear more about that. And Shushi, please tell us about your business and services before and after COVID.
Sure, it's Shuchi. So
Shushi.
yeah, no worries. So we curate luxury, Guest Box curates luxury welcome boxes for hotels to delight guests with unique products. Pre-COVID, we were working with boutique hotels, luxury hotels, etc., and also had started conversations with like the brand level. Post-COVID, we are still optimistic about the hotel industry coming back with a bang. I think a little bit more segmented than anything else. We are currently servicing vacation rentals. We're also pivoting to the corporate sector, the whole work from home culture, as well as partnering with very large consumer product companies to, get their products out there in attractive boxes that's more, kind of in line with their budget and their target demographic, et cetera. So we are kind of delving into that a little bit as well.
Great. So you've made some cool adjustments right away. Why don't we start with you this time, and you can tell us exactly how long did it take for your team to decide to pivot?
I think almost immediately. I think in March, we started getting calls from hotels saying, we just lost $75,000 today, and we can't continue with guest boxes or anything right now. And so I started to listen to industry experts in hospitality and like understand what exactly is going on and what their predictions are. So there was a prediction around everything being hunky-dory again in the summer, and I tend to be a little skeptical when it comes to these things. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe, but in the meantime, let's kind of look at some of these other avenues. I started really kind of talking to experts and understanding what else we could do. So it's been a process, right? Going from curating, and we're still doing this. We're curating luxury, like basically sanitation and wellness products. So not your regular like 3-ply mask like this one, but like more handmade items, like really cool masks, et cetera, as well as hand sanitizer products that don't dehydrate your skin, et cetera. And so those are currently being offered by hotels and vacation rentals or upsold to their guests. So we're kind of working on that model as well. So that was one immediate thing. And after that, we started to look into, what else we could be doing with the consumer product company. So we kind of understand both of those industries. And so understanding that a lot of packaging material, et cetera, does come from overseas, and there has been, delays in production, et cetera. So we kind of started looking at that. And then we started with actually what's really interesting is we, from the get-go, have always featured product companies that are eco-conscious, healthy, welcoming. Over 50% are female and minority-led brands from around the country. So we actually go ahead and like find women-run, minority-run companies and work with them, large, medium, and small. So we've been doing that. And then as the Black Lives Matter movement started to gain momentum and understanding that companies are trying to do a very tangible thing here. I mean, not just put a Band-Aid on the issue, but really, thinking about what they could be doing more. And so we started proposing these ideas to them to say, we can do curated boxes of like items from all Black enterprises, and we would be responsible and working out a sustainable arrangement as well. So that is something that we are doing as well.
Wow. Well, you are definitely making quick decisions and pivoting quickly. So let's move to Letitia so she can share with us how long it took for her team to pivot and what were the cues for you, Letitia?
I think we knew kind of almost immediately. A big portion of our revenue pre-COVID was as a logistical agency, working at festivals, and what that means is we were on the ground, actually building out initiatives for our festival partners. So when a brand wanted to do an activation at a festival, then they would contract our team. We would help them to build it out, just be their logistical arm and their logistical agency. So huge cancellation with South by Southwest being based in Austin. Really, you don't have a lot of time to lament as hard as a cancellation like that is. My team we took that Friday when the notification came out that South by Southwest would be canceled. Took that Friday to just really kind of, that hurt. And then by that Monday, myself and my leadership team were on the phone with our partners, trying to, talk to them about how they can move their brand revenue around, what are their options, really providing additional opportunities for them that they may not have thought about previously. And for me, being in the industry for so long, understanding that if South by Southwest is being canceled, that is really that's the mark, that's the start and the end of kind of festival season. On the one end, you have the festivals kind of wrapping up from the prior year, and then you have the new season that's starting. So that to me was a huge marker that not only this was a lot bigger than anyone had really thought about, and the fact that something as huge as that was canceled. And so we were able to talk with a lot of our brand partners and say, hey, this may not be, communicated, but we don't think that it's coming back. We don't think that festivals are coming back this year, if at all, until June of 2021. And at the time, everyone was like, what? You're crazy. But the more and more we kind of started having those conversations and giving them insights that we were seeing, identifying like, hey, these brands, these huge brands are pulling out. HBO has stopped their traveling. Apple, Twitter, no one's traveling, right? These are huge revenue drivers that when you look at it and they're pulling out of the market, that means that you need to as well. But we weren't just giving them doom and gloom. We were offering them solutions, right? What can you do with this coming up? Are you looking at digital transformations? Let's utilize this time where if there's something that you should be doing or you need to be doing, organic content, focusing on digital ads, all of those little things that we know as business owners that we need to do kind of fall to the wayside when budget and events and all of that is going on. So this is now the time that you have to pour into that because you don't have that offline interaction that's happening. And then kind of starting to transition that, us being a cultural based marketing agency, as Black Lives Matter started to really kind of gain momentum, we were then able to go back to those same partners and say, hey, we've been here 2016 we've been doing this work. We've been working with the demographic. I am a part of this demographic. Our team is a Black-led creative agency that is cultural focused. So, do you want to be a part of the conversation and create tangible change, or do you just want to going to do something and you don't? And so we were having a lot of very kind of serious conversations with our brand partners about the options that they have available, digging into the data because we've worked with them so closely for a very long time. We know where the blind spots are because we've seen it, we've identified it, and now we're able to provide you with this plan of action that can say, hey, not only are you transitioning to the next phase, the next wave, but you're also answering some serious questions. And so that has really been where our agency is kind of starting to shine and really being able to provide solutions to our brand partners in these cultural initiatives.
Wow. So I feel like there's a theme here. We have moving very fast, paying attention to some of the industry big boys, Fortune 500 leaders on how quick they're pivoting, and then not just looking at what happened with COVID-19, but also the cultural effects of Black Lives Matter movement. So, John, were you also moving quickly? What happened with you? How long did it take for you and your team to decide to pivot, and what were the market condition cues for you?
Yeah, so we noticed in March that there was a significant drop in people actually ordering housekeeping services. People were just paranoid. They preferred no one go to their home unless it's family. So we noticed a really big drop from March and April. So around May, I would say, is when we started to implement different ideas, different services. And the quickest way to recoup lost revenue, was to partner up with people already or companies already offering disinfecting services. So we would be more of like a referral and a vetting service, because we would only hire or work with companies that were very well known in that field. So as soon as we got some disinfection requests, we would offer it to those companies and they would take care of it. Customer feedback has been great. Another thing that we started doing was actually selling products for disinfecting. We realized that we can get products and sell them for a good margin, and why not offer that if it's something that customers are in need of? So we created another company, and it's called Germophobics, and that's all product-based. We sell disinfectants, electrostatic sprayers, foggers, anything that an organization could need for disinfecting. And here's the reason that I think it's great, not trying to brag, but if a company or a client doesn't want to spend a lot of money on services because it's a higher cost, they always have the option to buy the product themselves and do it themselves. So we're getting both the option, or we're giving customers both the option for services as well as the products. So we launched Germophobics. It's been about 4 or 5 months now since it's been live, and it's been going very well. And what led us to offer disinfecting services? Well, we were getting a lot of calls, a lot of inquiries from churches, from schools, factories, warehouses regarding that. So once we realized this is a thing that people need, that's what led us to actually reach out to these companies that can do it for us. And now we make a good margin off of that from just referring that to another disinfecting company. So that's how it came to be, and I'm excited for the future and what we can do to keep people safe.
Okay, John, great pivot. You created a whole new company in there.
Yes.
So you went from just services to services and products. So how did that affect your customers? I hear you saying you have a lot of new customers, but how did that also impact the customers you had?
So it didn't really impact them because the new customers are totally different. Existing customers, they just want reassurance that we're following CDC guidelines, that we're using EPA-approved products, that we're wearing proper PPE, protective equipment, when we arrive to their homes. So as long as we let them know that these are the extra steps that we're taking, they're completely fine. Some customers are still scared of people going into their homes, so we have lost some repeat customers, but overall, it hasn't changed much, considering the loss of revenue that we had in March and April. We're back to almost normal right now.
Wow, that must feel good.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go ahead and address customers with Sushi as well. How has your updates affected your new customers and your existing customers?
Yeah, it's just basically broadened our customer pool, so to speak, because there are a lot of industry changes within our older customers. So like people I had a personal rapport with are no longer working there anymore. So it's really, it's really hard. But basically, like it's basic. We're kind of trying to find like the next person to continue to communicate with, and hopefully they'll be there. I think the industry is actually just going to go through a lot of consolidation. A lot of boutiques are going to probably get bought over by the brands. So that's eventually what's going to happen. So we have to keep our lines of communication open with the brands, et cetera. But with the corporate world and the vacation rentals, we're actually building new relationships there with individual customers, and like people who invest in multiple properties, as well as companies in that space that have emerged. And with the corporate world, it's a completely new set of customers, right? Like a profile that I've never sold to before. So it's exciting. So yeah, the communication, we're kind of like streamlining it. We're saying that we are continuing to do everything that Guestbox does, but then above and beyond that, we're also doing these other kinds of curation, and we're really looking to the customer to kind of provide us with an understanding of their needs and their budget and all those details as well.
Awesome. And the same question for you, Letitia. You know, what has the customer response been as far as new customers and existing customers? So your updates.
For our existing customers, they were extremely happy. You know, one of the KPIs that I really measure is that during the pandemic and during the shutdown, every single one of our clients, our existing businesses, were able to generate revenue during that time. And that is, you know, due largely in part to our team's strategy and us being able to work with them to pivot quickly and make those decisions driven by the insights of their business. For our new businesses, our new clients, it does offer them even more experience and expertise in this space. We're a bootstrapped company. That's one of the things that when you've bootstrapped your company from nothing, a shutdown is, just par for the course at this point, because, there are moments where bootstrapping, you don't have enough runway, you're making those decisions quickly. And so I don't want to say that being a bootstrapping company kind of gives us an edge, but it does during times like this, because if you've never, dealt with not understanding runway or revenue being down or having to go out and sell in a down market, then you can't really understand how to have the strategic vision to move through it. Our team has, not only for our own company, but also as a consultant, as a Six Sigma professional, I've helped clients navigate through that time. So kind of on both ends, our existing clients are really understanding, the strategy. At first they were panicking, now they've kind of calmed down and are really starting to look forward to say, regardless of, what happens over the next 3 to 6 months, I know that I'm going to be okay because I have a strategy behind it. And the new clients that are coming to us because they see the results that we're delivering.
So how has pivoting quickly and pivoting period helped you to find success where potentially other people in your industry might be struggling?
I think that one of the things that I saw during the shutdown, those 6 weeks, were people rushing to market too quickly without a plan of action. Introducing new products, introducing new services without having fully thought those through. And by the end of that 6-week period, they were confused. They didn't understand what was going on. Their clients were confused. They didn't know what was going on. And one of the things that our teams did before publicly introducing any new services or new positioning, we went and talked to our clients directly, asked them what they needed. We spent 6 full weeks really coming up with the product services and the product offerings. So as everyone was kind of reopening and transitioning on the moment that everything started to reopen in mid-April, our team was coming out and saying, hey, these are our new services. This is the direction that we're going in. Mm-hmm. And then when June, everything happened again in June with, again, Black Lives Matters and the cultural civil rights movements, we were then able to say again, hey, we have this strategy, let's move forward. And that's kind of one of the things that I'm seeing is either people are rushing too quickly without a clear plan of action, or they are kind of getting causing brand confusion within their own customer base. So if you don't know what you're doing, there's no way that your customers will either.
Wow. All right, Shushi, tell us what your thoughts are on how you were able to, your pivoting helped you find success where your competitors may be struggling.
So I won't say that we found success. It's a little too soon, especially there's a lot of red tape in the corporate world. So we're still navigating all of that. But I think we do have an edge of because we're not like, we don't have investors that are like, okay, it's time to like shut down, where a lot of hospitality startups that I know of had like so much money in the bank and their investors said, all right, done, like don't do this anymore, and they'll use this money to start something else, right? And so I'm like, that must be nice, but at the same time, I really like the fact that we've been able to discover what's working in the hospitality world on our own, and during the time that those pivots happen in the industry. So like really understanding how they're attracting new customers, what they're doing for their sales and marketing, et cetera. So I think being lean, having a lean model really helps. And then secondly, also, really having those relationships where you can actually call customers and really understand like, hey, when are you opening your hotel? Like what's happening, all of that. So that really works well. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear this, but there's something going on with my computer. Anyway.
But definitely understand, like I see another theme coming, like bootstrapping, being lean, and being able to really take all of these things to the next level. John, do you, with all your experience, and I also hear you guys saying building relationships, and with John's background in business development, I know building relationships is part of his story as well. So we'll give John a chance to share how pivoting has helped you to find success when other people in your industry may be struggling.
Yeah, so following up to Letitia and how she said that bootstrappers have an edge, or could have an edge, I agree, because if I wasn't bootstrapped, if my company wasn't bootstrapped, I'd be more afraid of making changes. If I had investor money, for example, investors would want to take part in every decision. They'd want to, approve everything before it gets launched. So I wouldn't have been able to pivot. We wouldn't have been able to pivot that quickly and try so many different things. So bootstrapping is definitely an edge in my opinion. And most companies in the industry, they just don't want to try anything outside of their comfort zone. Usually they just want to stick to what they know. So for example, a housekeeping company is likely just going to wait it out. Thankfully, we didn't wait it out. We pivoted, we tried new things, and that's helped us increase our revenue. And that's helped us increase our customer base. So I would say that would be the edge that we have, is that we're able to adapt and make changes quickly.
Yeah, John, with having so much success with your changes, do you plan to return to your previous business model when we reach this, so-called new norm?
Well, the previous business model still exists. It's just that we've added new ways, new business models, new revenue streams. So Pro Housekeepers still serves private residences, commercial clients. It still exists. They can find us on Google, or we can continue servicing our clients. We just have extra services, and now we have the product section of our new company, Germophobic. So I think that it's going to remain the same for Pro Housekeepers, and for the product section of the company, it's just going to continue growing. So I think that it's all going to be a good thing for business, since we're providing a service that people actually, they need to stay safe, and they need assurance that they're safe. So I see a good future for the company.
Yeah, it sounds very amazing what you're doing, and that you've been able to, add another startup, as Ebony said in the chat. All right, so Shushi, please share with me what your thoughts are. Do you plan to return, to the previous business model if we return to the new norm, or what are you feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to start those conversations from where we left off at a very high level. And then at more on a day-to-day basis, we're going to continue to sell and market to hotels and different, specialized hospitality as well. And then with all the new learnings and the new customers, we'll be able to really kind of build out what makes sense at that time from a technology perspective, as well as from a product curation standpoint. And so that's really the plan by and large right now.
Gotcha. So you will make a return. And what about you, Letitia?
Yes, I think, as events come back online, there's always going to be that hybrid between in real life and on online content. And so I do see a really great, unique opportunity for the businesses and the agencies who are able to effectively gain that, right? So before we were primarily offline in there, it's been really, really great to see the emergence of so many virtual options, and how people are able to just come up with new inventive ideas that are like, wow, I never would have thought of that before. So I see the industry as a whole continue to move in that direction, and so our company will definitely be able to just offer more ways to bridge the gap and bring both worlds together.
So what avenue are you taking to get leads now?
Our leads are currently word of mouth. We have a referral network. We have a partnership network. Our leads, because of the amount of our service that our offerings are tiered, it is better to come from people who've already worked with us, businesses and partners who understand those price points and will send us through fully vetted businesses and leads. And then we also have an internal sales team that we're working with and building out, and we'll be building out further over the next 3 to 6 months.
Great. All right. And Shushi, can you answer that same question? What avenue are you taking to connect with leads now?
Yeah, so we're actually doing a mix of things. I think we're really looking at referrals from the community. I'm a part of a couple of different communities. My company's been through 2 accelerators. We're in another program in New York at the moment. And so really trying to, leave no stone unturned with keeping our value proposition intact, which is what we do best, is we really bring to the fore great product companies in the hands of customers, and we do prefer a B2B route. And so that is something that we are doing. We're not spending a huge ton of money on social media marketing and all of that right now, but I do see some avenues to do that as the holidays come around this year. So that's definitely something that's working. And then we're also, for our hospitality customers, we've built out a referral program, and as sales in the business world increase, we'll plan to do that as well. And so that'll be an interesting incentive. And then I personally just have a lot of connections in the corporate world, so I'm actually kind of like really bugging my friends right now to get me in the door at some of the big four, et cetera. And so I am being completely shameless in doing that. So so those are just some personal things. But yeah, of course, definitely, we're looking at our customers and understanding where, if like a larger hospitality company, to understand which brands are doing well and which markets are making money. And when we're really kind of tapping into that.
Yes, thank you for your transparency. And it's, you got to use your friends and then make those calls. So John, how about you with your companies right now? How are you attracting leads into your business?
Yeah, so right now, the primary ways that we're attracting customers is direct contacts through LinkedIn, email. We do some research beforehand. We make a list of companies that we think are a good fit. Then we reach out to like their operations managers and say, hey, do you need an extra hand with this service? And we've had good success with that. Alternatively, another way we're getting customers is content marketing and paid social ads. So we target lookalike audiences to our current customers using content marketing, our articles that we create. We send them to that, and then once they hit that page and spend some time on it, the pixel fires and we can retarget them with ads for services or products. So those are the main ways we're currently acquiring customers.
That's great. I love LinkedIn lead gen. That's creative. So I heard you mention earlier that sales dropped right in the beginning in March and April, and now you're starting to see it level out. So would you say that it's increased or decreased for you right now?
So the housekeeping portion of services is still, it's getting to normal. I wouldn't say it's the new normal, but it's still not the same as last year. So I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yes, the housekeeping has decreased, but the other two areas have increased, or
Yeah. So they kind of offset the loss.
so overall it stayed the same.
Exactly.
Okay, very cool. Letitia?
Our customers are B2C or direct to consumer. That portion kind of did decrease for a bit, dealing with just direct creators and independent artists. But as John said, we were able to offset that with our business and brands. And we've kind of actually replaced that revenue and actually increased it to the point where we have to bring on more sales.
Yay, that is great. And Shushi?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at different models right now to see where we want to go. I mean, I am really passionate about B2B, but of course that number has really gone down. But, finding the right fit in the corporate world, we will get back to those numbers. And so it's just a matter of like who's pulling the trigger where and how fast that's happening. But in the meantime, we are, the order sizes may have gone down, but the number of customers is increasing for sure.
Great. Okay. So I'm so excited to be part of this panel and hearing how quick everyone has pivoted. And I do think that fast decisions make a big impact, being the leader. But there are a lot of people watching, I'm sure, who are like, oh, I don't feel like changing my product, or I'm a little nervous, or I have fear. What is one tip that you would have for those people who have not changed their product lines or services yet? So we'll start with you, Letitia.
The bit of advice that I have is, if you know what's not working, if you're not, making money right now, or you're not generating revenue, you know it's not working. So you should give yourself and your business a chance to survive by seeing what can work. And you will be surprised, I think, with the momentum that's created just by trying one new thing. You don't have to, overhaul your entire business. Just try one new thing, start with that, and you'll be surprised.
Yes. Well, thank you for that great advice. And John?
My advice is, if you want to wait it out, you can wait it out. But in the meantime, the market is going to be the market. And if you don't adapt, you're not going to make money. Like, if you're not selling your product, then you have to find another product to sell. That's my advice. Like, you just got to adapt or wait it out. And hopefully you have enough runway to wait it out, because if you don't, then your business is going to get shut down.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Your hard-hitting truths there. And Shushi, you tell us how your one tip for those who need a little inspiration or motivation to change their product lines or services.
Well, I mean, it actually depends on so many factors, right? Like who are your stakeholders? Like who's kind of telling you to do what? I mean, if you're your own boss and you think your product needs to change it. If not, then maybe we can't be like everything to everyone, right? You have to kind of do some soul searching and go to the core of like what your brand stands for, what your product does, and what your team's expertise is, right? And so what you're going to actually practically going to be able to pull off with this constant changing market. Also, I would try to detach yourself and your identity from your brand if you're a solopreneur, because that's something that, like hey, we have a pandemic, which, was in no one's control, right? Everything else feels like it was in your control, right? Like in terms of if your customers are buying and what. And I think one thing that gets a little bit underestimated, which I'm actually doing a lot these days, is partnering. Like find partners, like non-competing products in the market that you can actually work with, because right now everyone's being creative. I'm not talking about ones where all the instructions are kind of coming from the top, where it's like, oh, we have to do this and we have to pivot this way. But for people that are looking to try different things, that'll give you a new perspective, and it will increase your sales as well if you do it right. And so that's something we are currently partnering with another hospitality company, and that's actually going pretty well.
Great. Well, Ebony's pops back in. So Ebony, I did see some Q&A, and I know we have our PR marketing track captain back, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks. Because we only have like 5 minutes left, or and 6 minutes, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. I am going to just kind of take over for the Q&A that we do have here. So Gracie asked, we had a huge spike in sales in March and April. They are a hair care brand, by the way. But over the summer, they saw super slow sales. So how do you prepare? And I'm gonna go with Shuchi and John on this one, because you have like the consumer products, or products, at least I should say. How do you prepare for successful holiday shopping season during a pandemic?
I saw that question come in. Actually, it's a really good question. I think a lot of people are going to be competing for the same kind of customers, but if you can be a little bit creative, first of all, like hair care brand is DTC hair care brand. It's a little bit broad. I've obviously worked with a lot of different companies and kind of identifying where those customers are. A lot of, if you're okay with taking a step back in terms of margins for a little while and like looking at more volumes, probably striking those deals right now with marketplaces is probably a really good idea. I actually read somewhere that Verishop, which is like the competitor to Amazon, it's the Amazon for like locally grown brands. They were in March or April, they were doing $11,000 an hour. So, if you can actually find out which marketplaces are doing well for hair care and kind of partnering there, that might be a good, it could be a good pilot, and it could be a good way to increase your sales. If you're already doing that, then perhaps, using a social media marketing, but in a more tangible way. Like I'm having supreme hair problems right now. So I'm actually looking, I am, like, it's so weird. Like I'm in New York and it's the fall and suddenly my hair went dry. And so trying to find the people with the problems like quickly and marketing to them might be good, looking at your different regions from a seasonality standpoint. But we can talk more about that, because I'm sorry, I don't know anything about the hair care brand. So I'm like, this might not even be relevant.
Mm-hmm. And John, while you're not hair care,
I invest a lot of time in hair care as well, as you can see. But I agree that find the right platforms, because during the holiday season, people always go to those platforms, Amazon, even Etsy. I haven't heard of Verishop, but if that's a platform where people are going, go there and list your products. Another thing is start letting your customers know of these upcoming sales early on. That way they can wait it out instead of buying a competitor product. And so they don't feel bad if they buy it full price and then a month later it's half price. So educate your customers, list it wherever you can, where customers are looking at, and just make sure that you have enough inventory on hand. That's also a holiday issue where companies, they do a lot of marketing, they get a lot of sales, but then they'll have a lot of delays because they didn't order enough inventory. So keep that in mind.
And Leticia, because I know you're a service-based business and I know Veronica has a service-based business, I'm gonna give you her question. Did you readjust your pricing based on current events?
Yes, we did. We actually increased our pricing structure though.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the reason that we increased it was because we revisited who our target is, right? Those customer profiles that you create at the start of your business, really examine those, revisit those, and see if that still fits. And if it doesn't, then start making that transition. But also ask yourself, who should your customer be? Who needs your products, who needs your services, and how can you help them? And set your price point where it's something that will be competitive in the market. One of the things that I've seen for service-based businesses especially is that we undervalue the service that we provide because we want to be competitive. But a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with corporate strategy and corporate structures, if you underbid, you lose anyway. So make sure that you're competitive in the marketplace. And since we've increased our pricing, our structure, and how our tiers are structured, we've actually been able to increase our revenue because we are not only competitive in the market, but we also offer supreme services. And they come to us because if you're priced at this point, they're paying you for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm. So our last audience question, I'm going to ask all four of you. We're going to start ladies first, John, if you don't mind. So, Leticia, since you have the floor, give me 2 online communities where you think people can build partnerships and collaborations with digital freelancers and founders.
I'll start with the 2 that I'm a part of. I think a few creatives, absolutely. And Founder Gem, especially. Both of those are local. One is local, one is national. Get around the people who have the services that you offer. And if you find that you don't, start your own, right? A lot of times people kind of want to go to what's already established, but maybe you haven't found it because it's not the group for you. So that would be my advice is those are the 2 that I would say. And then if the third would be, if you can't find it, create your own.
Mm-hmm. Shuchi?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a part of something called Lunch Club, and that's actually everything's gone virtual since the pandemic. It's you make anywhere from 1 to like 4 or 5 connections a week, and it's all flexible. It's after hours or if you want, etc. And you can kind of specify like who specifically you're looking to meet in whatever city you're in. And so that's one. And then secondly, like if you're a woman founder, there's a really huge Facebook group called the Women Founders Community. And so that's been super resourceful for me, like every time I'm looking for something or someone that actually helps. So hopefully that's helpful.
George, you want to chime in?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very hyper local and I do a lot of networking. So I use a Purposeful Women International Network, and we meet online currently. So that one is good. And then I also would definitely jump on a few creatives when it comes to partnerships and collaborations.
Okay. And John, bring it up for the guys. Bring up a couple male ones since they just dominated with all the women groups, right?
So shameless plug, but I created an organization, Masterminds Tampa, and that, like Leticia said, I didn't see anything that fit the description of what I wanted or needed. So I went ahead and created it along with my co-founder, Oscar. So in that group, it's all Tampa Bay area people. There are a ton of creatives there, a lot of programmers, designers, entrepreneurs. So that's where I get my referrals from whenever I need like a designer or something. And then something that's not local, obviously Upwork. I just put out a job request and I get a lot of applicants. So.
Okay, good one. So I got to ask you, John, your background there, I feel like you had a little professional back there, put that together. You look absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
Is that who I think do your setup there today?
Yep, Vadim.
Vadim, he's always got like the best setup, man. I'm always just like jealous of his setups. Anyways, I want to thank all of you panelists for your time today, your dedication towards what we're trying to do for Startup Week and sharing your insights. It is not easy doing this and sharing your struggles, but I think it helps us all grow as a community, right? And you never know what you can learn. So for you, ask all of you who are asking, where can I get clients? Where can I meet someone? Guess what? We have on Wednesday a session called Where Are Your Customers? So I know all of you who are asking those questions, one of those things will be back with us on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m.